Hello, in this one a build guide for Lightning Slash. Let's talk about StarterSkillboard, Zodiacs, Charms, and how to approach the late game. The main question to answer before starting is Maximized or Critical build. Maximized is a good choice early in the game with Seal of Persistence and Band of Certainty Unique Ring. Those two in tandem will give a lot of easy and quick damage. Critical is tend to be hard to scale, as we also want to do a hybrid build. That means critical plus maximized, and there is only a few sources of maximization chance that fit on a critical build. Converting to physical is a good choice for a critical build, while staying lightning is a good choice for maximized, even though it has no real impact on our damage. Lightning Slash also has two good awakenings, but about those later. Right now, let's go into the build. StarterSkillboard for the Lightning Slash. I'm gonna show both maximized and critical builds, but there are a few things to know. First of all, if you are doing a critical build, you'll want to convert to physical as soon as possible. If you are doing a maximized build, you can stay lightning as it doesn't impact your damage as much. I'm gonna start with a lightning build, as some of the people might not have enough rare skill and link rune selection boxes, which actually you should have enough because we get so much from the Zodiac Pass rewards, leveling rewards, and even events. But I'm gonna keep it simple. I want to start with the Warrior Shadow. This is really important. This is the best link rune we can have, and it comes from the rare link rune selection box, and I highly suggest to focus on this one. After that, our main two issues are the attack speed and the flat lightning damage. We want to use confidence, quick attack, and additional lightning damage to solve those issues. After that, Savagery, just for extra weapon range, so the skill would feel better. For the attack seal, we are using Seal of Critical Chance. For defensive seal, you can use any you have. In here I have Seal of Dodge. Illusion Axe right now is like a placeholder. It doesn't do much for us, but it's gonna do a little bit more later. You don't have to focus on that one. All of our utility and toggles are linked with dampened resource cost, so it wouldn't be as expensive on the mana. For movement, I have Leap Attack and Roll linked with Disarm. For attack enhance, Fighter's Wrath. For defense enhance, Bulwark of Protection, they are linked with increased duration and time acceleration. Shadow Provocation in here is to give us arm amplification. It's linked with Lingering Shout, Hushed Shout, Shadow Power, and time acceleration. It also has a buff activation when hit, so it would proc automatically whenever we are hit. StarterZodiacs, for the stats themselves, they depend on what type of gear you have and what level your skill runes are, so there is no good default way for me to show you what you need. You will have to check that on your build. But the Zodiacs, we want to start with Aphros, go into lightning damage, pick up melee damage, and diamond body. We want to have Twisted Element for the status effect, as it's gonna allow us to apply like a freeze, shock, or any other type of status effect. At 22 points, we have our first spec unlocked. We want to go for HP Absorb and Convert Mana, but those has to be picked at the same time, as Convert Mana is gonna consume HP, and with HP Absorb on hit, we are able to regen our HP. 2 points are left, we can go Acceleration. It says 9 points, but you get 2 extra points when you finish the green questline in Saluto after you do the campaign. So right now, I'm leaving it at 7. We are a critical build. Let's pick up Elaborate Attack. This is important with Rainbow Bridge. Hands Quicker Than Light for some huge attack speed. And then again, we can go even for more attack speed. We want to go Breath and pick up Strike Damage Amp, which is Sweep. We have 47 points, that means second specialization is unlocked at 45. We go in here, it's the same thing as with the first specialization. We only have 7 points, we need to do the questline to unlock 2 extra points. In here you have a few choices. I pick up as default weapon range, but you can also go Iron Will to be a little bit more tanky. Eternal Agony to have a little bit more damage in general, or Sharpness for a critical build for a little bit extra crit rate and crit damage. But I'm gonna keep it this way. With that, right now we have a few choices. We definitely want to pick up Pro Collision and go into Elemental Damage Amp. There's 4 elements. We have unlocked Trait 8 in here. I suggest to go for the Frost Shelter. And that because we have status effect And with additional cold damage, we are gonna be able to apply Freeze and Chill. And Freeze and Chill is a big deal, and I'm gonna show you why. First of all, we want to go back to Spider, and in here pick up Lightning damage. With this, we are doing 10% damage amplification against bound enemies. We have 75 points. Third specialization unlocks at 72, so we want to pick up our third spec. And that third spec is Torch. This is pretty default, and they just suggest to pick up this. It's really good, it works every single time, you don't have to think a lot about it. And now back to the cold damage stuff. Why cold damage is good? Because we can pick up this node and have an extra 10 damage amplification against frozen enemies. So basically, we tap into another type of damage, and that another type of damage gives us damage increased against that type of status effect. Right now, we kinda don't have too many choices to choose. By default, I'm gonna choose this node. For Holy Manufacturing, it's potion duration and potion effect. It affects HP and mana potions. At the same time, if you are using damage potions, elemental resistance potions, this is also affected by this. So this is a pretty nice default node. We have 13 points left, which is not actually correct. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna assume you're gonna use a two-hander. If you are using a one-hander, go for one-hander nodes, but I do two-hander. And this is it. I have 4 points left, but those 4 points should be spent on the specializations. I'm not gonna do that right now, I'm gonna leave that for a little bit later. CharmBlessings for a lightning build. We want Acumen, Boreal, and Castor. What does it mean is that we only want to have those specific charms to be able to reach a 140% blessing. So every single charm gives you a blessing amount depending on what tier the charm is. And we want to focus on Acumen, Boreal, and Castor charms. CharmAffixes for a critical build is critical rate and critical damage. Those two you want to have 100% all the time. The third one can be anything. It can be maximized damage, which is a best type of charm, best in slot. But maximized damage can be changed to HP multiplier, elemental resistances, even damage multiplier, damage when two-hander or one-hander, depending on what you get. Legendary prefixes are 2. We really want to have maximization chance, as this is going to enable us to do critical plus maximized build, that means a hybrid build. And this is the best legendary prefix we can have. Strike damage amplification is really also nice, and it's not a bad choice to have at least a few strike damage amp charms on your charm board. Relics for a lightning build. We want to start with a Sebda. In here on the passive pick up Enhanced Chaos Resist, on the active Mental Stimulation, with 2 link runes, cooldown recovery speed, and increased buff effect. Remember that you have to summon the relic that has an active skill, otherwise it's not gonna work. For the second, we can go Castor for Sanctum Effect. Sanctum Effect is basically buffs on the maps like Swiftness. We can also choose Enhanced Strength or even Enhanced Shout, depending on what you need the most. Third one is Acumen for Enhanced Lightning Penetration. And the last one is Boreal for extra HP, as the last relic can only be level 15. For the StarterMaximized build, we need 2 things. First thing on the skill board is Seal of Persistence instead of Seal of Critical Chance, and the second one is Band of Certainty Unique Ring. And it's really important to have that one, as it's a big damage increase on a maximized build. Besides that, everything else is the same. We don't need to switch any link runes on the Lightning Slash. On the Zodiacs, instead of having Elaborate Attack, we want to switch to Distorted Senses. With that, every single Zodiac that we have is gonna still fit for the maximized build. For a maximized build, we want to have maximized damage and damage multiplier as charm affixes. These two are pretty good and they should always be on the charms. The third one kind of depends on what type of build you're gonna do, but by default, damage when two-handed, damage when one-handed is a good choice depending on your weapon choice. It also can be HP, it also can be HP flat, HP multi, elemental resistances, whatever you can drop. Besides that, on the legendary, we want to have strike damage amplification. This is the best legendary affix to have on a maximized build. Latest skillboard for a maximized build. There is 2 assumptions. First of all, that you no longer need attack speed and additional lightning damage flat on your main skill as you have crafted those on your items. With that in mind, we want to have Lightning Slash Awakening to Origin, Warrior Shadow to Source, Aijutsu to Origin, Fighting Spirit to Source, Savagery to Origin, Smash to Source, and Extract Lightning Energy. We want to keep it at level 45. We're still using Seal of Persistence, Awakening to Verity. We can have Seal of Striking as a rapid seal, so it becomes like a buff. We also want Veil of Protection as extra defensive layer. Rapid Seal and Veil of Protection is linked to Enhance effect. Illusion Axe, you want to awaken it to Verity for extra area. Or if you want to extract some Earth energies, you can do Source. And also add Extract Earth Energy Link Rune. Center of Gravity awaken it to Verity to give damage per stack multiplier. While Preemptive Strike is awakened to Source. It has a global buff, but it has to hit an enemy at full health. So it's not going to be a huge uptime, but it's still a decent amount of damage increase. Fighter's Wrath has a few changes. It's awakened to Source. It has decreased duration awakened to Source, but be careful. This link rune might be damage decrease if you don't have enough duration to begin with. Totem of activation upon using Enhanced skill. It's linked to Weakened Totem, awakened to Origin. Source also works. Area Totem Source. Enhanced Totem Origin. Also has Enhance effect, which is also linked to Shadow Provocation, just to increase the skill rune tooltip. Bulwark of Protection is awakened to Origin, also has Vitality Recovery. Shadow of Justice awakened to Verity. This one removes hard crowd control, and if you are using it with buff activation upon crowd control, it's gonna do that automatically. It's linked to Hazard Shout and Lynching Shout for some increased duration and lower cooldown recovery speed. We can do a few changes on the Zodiacs with a few assumptions, so let's talk about those. First of all, specialization. If you have those 2 extra points, you want to go into Strike Damage Jump. If you have 2 extra points in Spec 2, you can go full on damage, which would be Eternal Agony and Brand of Agony. This is the biggest amount of damage you can get from this. And right now, a few more assumptions. First of all, we can remove Frost Shelter if you have additional cold damage on your weapon or in Lacrima. With that, we can tap into physical damage to be able to apply more status effects, which are gonna be damage increase. Another change, we shouldn't need Rainbow Bridge anymore. It's a little bit of movement speed, a little bit of attack speed. You should be able to have those already and enough. Attack speed amplification is also shouldn't be an issue at this point. With this, we are left with 7 points. And there is a few things we need to do. The first one, we can tap into Cruelty. As we are doing physical damage, that means we can apply Bleed. That way, we have 2 extra % damage amplification against Dot, which in our case is Bleed. With 4 extra points left, it's really easy. We can go Power of Harmony if we have the requirements, 200 Strength, Dexterity, and Intelligence, and then if we have 500 Strength, we can pick up Will of the Strong. If we have 500 Dexterity, we can pick up Path of Fitness, whichever one fits for you. This is pretty much min-maxing the Zodiacs to fit the build that you are doing, and depending on what items you have. As mentioned before, if you want to do a critical build with a Lightning Slash, I highly suggest to convert. The conversion looks like this. We need convert physical damage on the Lightning Slash and then add extract Earth Energy. This is the 2 changes that we need to do. Aijutsu, you can keep awakening to Origin even though it's maximization damage, but when you're doing a critical build, you also want to tap into maximization build. That means we're gonna benefit from the maximized damage. Other change is the Seal of Critical Chance instead of Seal of Persistence, and it's awakening to Verity. These are the changes on the skill board. For the Zodiacs, I'm gonna show you from the beginning. I'm also gonna show a starter Zodiacs, which are basically really similar to the lightning ones, is that we pick up physical things instead of elemental or lightning damage. So the first change is in here. We want to go for the physical distortion, pick up as early as we can Cruelty. With that, we have our first spec, which is exactly the same. We don't need to do any changes in here. I'm gonna keep only 7 points. Same rules apply. Hands quicker. super speed, elaborate attack with rainbow bridge as we are critical right now. Breath, 45 points, actually 50 points, that means spec 2. Same thing, I'm gonna keep weapon range for now. We have unlocked here Spider. Instead of going for lightning and cold, we want to go for physical in here. Same idea, we want to have rock collision with raging particles. That unlocks trait 8. We want to have display of lightning for additional lightning damage. This is gonna enable us to apply shock debuff, and shock debuff is basically a huge damage increase. We have unlocked the third spec at 72 points. We want to go here. Same, 5 points for holy manufacturing. That leaves us with quite a few points. We do the same thing. We go for stench for two-hander stuff. If you are one-hander, pick up one-hander. That leaves 2 points. We can go power of harmony, and then that extra point we can use for utility HP or mana hit. This is how a starter physical build on the Zodiacs would look like if you just switch immediately at the start of your campaign. Let's say Act 1. But again, as it was with the Maximized build, we can do some assumptions and change the Zodiacs to fit you a little bit more. So first of all, 2 specs. I'm assuming we have those points. We spend those exactly the same as we would spend on the Maximized build. We should be able to remove display of lightning. This should be on the weapon crafted already. We tap into Farmer for power of nature and sprouting energy. That's 10% damage jump or close to 10% damage jump. And we can also remove the points from the rainbow bridge. This leaves us with 3 points, which can be spent to whatever stat you have the highest. Is it strength 500 or is it dexterity 500? CharmBlessings for a physical build is different because we no longer scale with Acumen. What we want instead is Hamal, Boreal and Castor. Hamal is the difference in here, as this is for the physical damage amplification. For the affixes, we are still going for the same thing depending are we critical or we are maximized. For Relics, on a physical build, we want to start with the Castor. On the passive, pick up Enhanced Sanctum Effect. Sanctum Effect is the buffs that you found on the maps like Swiftness, Expertise, Enhancement, and so on. We can also choose to pick up Enhanced Strength or Enhanced Shout depending on what you need the most. For the active skill, we want to go for Sensory Stimulation with 2 links, cooldown recovery speed and increased buff effect. Remember that you need to summon the relic that has an active skill. If you don't summon it, the active skill is not gonna work. We can go for Spica for powerful damage, Sebda on the passive for the enhanced chaos resist, and the last one is Boreal, as this can only be level 15. The only choice is some extra HP. Masteries are default. I'm gonna show them really quick. There is not much to do in here. Alchemy Masteries, we can do a little bit more. In my case, I went for combining price discount, but you can also go for Mana Potion cooldown recovery speed or HP Potion cooldown recovery speed, whichever you need the most. Unique Brewer, Absolute Perfection, Spring of Inspiration, and Excavator Soul should be a default choices, and you don't have to change those. Lightning/Origin or Source. I would say have both. Origin is really nice default awakening that fits for every single map, while Source is really good for single target damage, and I highly suggest to keep switching to Source if you are doing greater cards for the bosses like Land of Authority or even tier 12 bosses. One thing about Source Awakening is that you really want to get as close to 80% damage amplification awakening as possible. And if you are doing a progressional map with the Source Awakening, you can also switch something like Fighting Spirit to Chain Link Rune to have a little bit more clear. Besides that, I said everything I wanted to. GG's, bye bye, and see you in the next one. And as a bonus, Serpent's Essence drop from the Land of Authority at hard mode plus 56.